All right, so let's get started. So having a block or two, I have assorted sizes there today. And we are going to start in Sukhasana with the crossed legs. So coming onto your mat and assembling yourself there. Using those arms alongside, giving a lengthen up of those vertebrae. Maybe a little squinging and shifting. A few deep breaths with a big exhale out the mouth, letting go. And then releasing with the arms, hands resting on the knees, pouring down the sides of the shoulders, long neck, and lengthening up against the wall behind you, resting against the wall behind you. You can soften or maybe close your eyes. Inhale and exhale, bringing your attention even more inside yourself, feeling that breath. So as we continue to breathe, breathing through the nose, and that exhale maybe takes on a less a quality of letting go and more a quality of drawing into the center. But though perhaps maybe that is not what your exhale is feeling like at this moment. And taking one or two more breaths. And then opening the eyes if they were closed, reaching out wide through the collarbones, through the fingertips. Breathing those arms up, taking up lots of space. Taking up lots of space with your body and with your breath as we breathe those arms up and down. And once more. And then once more, breathing up. And we'll interlock the fingers and we're going to take the hands behind the head. So doing your best to pull the elbows wide and back and not press your chin forward. Back of the head presses gently into the hands, pulling those elbows wide, and we're going to twist to the right here. Inhaling up through the top of the head, exhale and twist. Keep pulling those elbows wide. So that left elbow is almost resisting. One more deep breath. And then release the hands, left hand on the knee, right hand on the floor, deepening into your twist. Coming back to the center, changing across of the legs. And let's breathe out through the arms and up. And interlock the fingers and hands behind the head. Working that upper back, shoulder blades down. Pulling the elbows wide, a little press back with the outer elbows, press back with the back of the head into the hands. And then we will twist to the left. Inhale and exhale, wide elbows, wide collarbones. Keeping that breath going, inhale makes a little more space. Exhale, we twist a little more deeply into that space. Maybe we let go of something that's resisting the twist or someplace that we're pushing too hard. And then release those hands, right hand onto the left knee, left hand to the floor, deepening into the twist. Coming back to the center, and let's come forward, pouring out over those legs. Big inhale into the back of the body, expanding, exhale, letting go. Inhale, expanding. Exhale, drawing into the center a little more and lengthening through the top of the head. And then coming up, unfurling that spine, vertebrae by vertebrae, back up on top of the sitting bones. Everything arrives here. And then extending those legs straight out in front of you in Dandasana, giving a little lift from behind, reaching through the heels. We're not going to do much of a forward bend, just a little forward bending. If you want, you can reach the hands onto the legs or the floor. And then we will roll ourselves down to the floor, contracting into those abdominal muscles and rolling yourself slowly down, vertebrae by vertebrae. Arms coming up overhead. Take a few breaths here, long and flat against the floor like you're standing on the opposite wall. And then soften a little bit. And let's pull those knees up into the chest. All right, then feeling yourself long and flat on the floor from the top of the head down to the sitting bones. And we will interlock those fingers, putting the hands behind the head, pulling the elbows wide there, pressing those outer elbows into the floor. So we're going to do the crisscross, also known as the bicycle, but we're going to do it nice and slowly and yogically. So we are going to twist to the right, not necessarily right elbow to right knee, just lift and twist as we extend our left leg out. And we'll hold here, and 3, and 2, and 1. Coming through the center, retrieving your left leg, and then twisting to the left, extending the right leg, breathing, and 3, And 2, anchoring that core to the floor. And 1, through to the center, press that belly down, twisting right again. Inhale and exhale, holding, and 1, and 2, and into the center, to the left, and breathing, and 1, and 2, to the center. And we'll just hold 1 breath. Inhale and exhale to twist, and hold, and coming back to the center, to the left, and twist, and hold, coming back, and let's do that twice more each side, and twist. Of course, we're not holding, we're lengthening and stretching and twisting, and center, and left, and then once more. And we're in the center, squeeze a little bit together, bringing the elbows in for a moment. And then setting the feet on the floor, setting the upper body on the floor. And reaching those arms up overhead, sliding the legs out to straight, long, and flat again. And then we'll make our way back where we came from. Rolling yourself up, or however you need to get up, and gently into that forward bend once more. And coming up. And then let's come up in downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. And as usual, walking the dog or anything else you want to do. And then as we finish up with whatever we're doing, let's just think about those interlocked fingers behind our head. I don't think we will actually be doing that in downward facing dog, but see if you can feel that work in the upper back, that pulling wide, that strength. And then taking a few deep breaths here. Lengthening forward to the plank. And here too, almost like you had those interlocked fingers behind the head with the elbows pulling wide. Finding some width in the body, not just that front to back line. And then we will, let's make our way to the floor. Let's see, let's do knees, chest, chin, Asta Namaskar, or your own way. So here we go, hinge back, big round in the lower back, and bringing that upper chest down, maybe deepen, lift that hinge of the hips a little more, sliding out into the small cobra, and coming down, pulling the elbows back. And small cobra twice more. Lengthening up and lengthening down. Really squeeze those upper arms in. And then lift up once more and give a little lift of the legs. They probably won't go high. They might just lighten on the floor, but making the legs work as well. And then coming down, peeling yourself up. We're going back to child's pose with a ripple or 2 or 3. Settling into child's pose, deep breath into the back of the body. And then coming up, unfurling that spine, sitting on your heels, or maybe putting a block between the feet and sitting on the block. Or Sukhasana or something else if this is really not going to work for your knees. Reaching long along the tops of the shins, front of the thighs going down through the knees, lifting up so that we're not imploding down into ourselves. And then let's reach out wide through the arms, breathing those arms up overhead, and interlock the fingers, turning the palms up, pressing those hands up to the ceiling. So I'm just going to diagonal a little here. So I am not being the mirror. And let's take a side bend over to the left, extending our right side. Coming back up to the center a little taller, up and over to the right, extending your left side. And lifting up a little taller, let's do that once more each side. Up and over, breathing here, pressing out through the base of the hands. Lengthen up through the center, up and over to the right, the other side. And back up to the center, release those hands. And then let's come back up in downward facing dog. Big yawn in the back of the knees. And then we'll go through the vinyasa, any version. Downward facing dog, and we'll lift our right leg up, reaching long through the heel, reaching down through the left heel into the floor. And big inhale and exhale through to the lunge. Lengthening out that lunge, and we will twist to the right. And then a big reach around and down with the right arm. And we will come up in the high lunge, or it could be the warrior one or the kneeling lunge. And then circling those arms around and back up overhead. Namaste in front, namaste into the floor. Stepping back to the plank through the vinyasa or not, downward facing dog. And we'll do that same thing on the left, lifting that left leg up as the left heel extends out and up, the right heel reaches down to the floor. And through to the lunge. We will twist to the left. And a big reach around with that left arm and coming up to the high lunge. And circling those arms all the way back up overhead. Namaste in front. Namaste into the floor. Stepping back to the plank, vinyasa or not, downward facing dog. And then coming down onto the knees. Once again, sitting back on your heels or sitting on the block. Long through the top of the head. And reaching out through the arms, breathing those arms up overhead. Let's interlock the fingers again, turning the palms up, pressing the base of the wrist up, shoulders down. And then we're going to sit off to the right. So if you can do this by lifting up with the muscles with the arms lifted here, doing that, or else use your arms to help. We don't want to wreck anybody's knees. If you can, lifting up, shifting over, and sliding that left leg out. And then here we are in the Janus Asana position with our interlocked fingers overhead. Pulling wide from that right knee to the left foot. And releasing the arms. And then if you want to do a little adjust and deepen, and we will do the side bending up and over to the left without a big twist preparation. Just reach up through that right arm, up and over to the left towards your straight leg. Reaching out long through both sides. And then a big reach around with your right arm to swoop all the way around, turning to face your left leg, coming over that left leg. Keeping that breath rolling through the body. And then coming up, retrieving that left leg, coming back up onto your heels for a moment. And then we will tuck the toes under. Rolling up onto your feet, expanding up into the forward bend. Uttanasana. Pulling up with those thigh muscles like you're pulling the kneecaps up, reaching the heels down into the floor. And then let's come up to standing into a big front body yawn. Pressing the arms down long through the top of the head all the way around to Namaste in front. Taking a deep breath here. And then making our way over. Concave back, folding over, walking out to downward facing dog. Get a good press back with those legs through the vinyasa or not. I'm just turning around to face the other way. And downward facing dog. And then we'll bend the knees. Coming down, sitting back on your heels or maybe sitting on the block. Reaching out wide through the arms, breathing those arms up overhead and interlocking the fingers. Turn the palms up, press the base of the wrist up. So as much lift as you can. And then maybe staying here in the transition or bringing those arms down as needed. As we lift up and shift over onto the left sitting bones, extend the right leg out, and we arrive in the Janus Asana position with the arms overhead, pulling knee to heel. I almost said elbow. Lift a little more and then release those arms. Make any little adjustment as needed. And we'll take that left arm up and over right into our side bend. Still has a little twisting left though, over the right leg. Feel like that right side, the lower side is lengthening as well. And then a big reach around with the left arm and turning to face your right leg. Inhale and exhale, pouring out over that right leg. There's that breath. Inhale, expanding, exhale, releasing, exhale, deepening. And those two actions can actually go together. In our subtle body with our breath, things are not either or choices. You can always be having both or many. And then coming up, reassembling in simplified Virasana on your heels. Take a breath here. And tucking those toes under. And coming up into the standing forward bend. Taking a few breaths here. Evening out those two legs. Coming up to standing, big front body yawn. Pressing the arms down all the way around to Namaste in front. And then before we make our way forward again, let's take a tree pose. So you can change your position if you like, either to stand on a more solid piece of floor, or maybe to put your hand on the wall or some other support. And we will bring our right leg up. Few more breaths here. And then bringing that right foot down. And we will do that on the left. Bringing that left leg up. It's kind of like standing up Janus Asana where we just were on the floor. Reaching from the foot to the knee. And then we'll bring that left foot down. We're here at the back of our mat in Tadasana. And swooping those arms up. And reaching out and over. And then continuing as usual, concave back halfway up, folding over, walking out to downward facing dog. Continuing through the vinyasa. And then here we all are, downward facing dog. Let's lift the right leg up, reaching long through the heel. And then dog at the high fire hydrant, big lift up and over. And let's draw a big circle with that right knee. Bringing the right knee forward, but stay in downward facing dog. Keep hinging back out to the parallel side, all the way up and over to fire hydrant dog. Doing that 2 or 3 more times. And then we will come through to the lunge and warrior number 2, the lateral lunge. And then check that everything arrived, especially that right knee tracking over the right foot. Think of the inner right thigh going forward, outer right thigh pulling back into the sitting. And then really anchoring that right sitting bone down as we dancing warrior side bend away with that right side. And into the side angle, big long reach out, elbow to the knee or maybe coming lower, arm over the ear or not. And then we're going to waft back and forth here. So holding on strongly in the center as we come back up. Dancing warrior, and reaching out and over, Ardha Konasana. And doing that approximately 3 more times, depending on how quickly you're moving. And then once more up into that dancing warrior. And this time we'll go into the triangle, Trikonasana, straightening up that right leg, tilting over. And settling into stillness in the body, though maybe that breath is still wafting. And then let's reach that left arm over the ear, a long flat triangle pressing up into the left side. And calming down, we're going to Janus-Asana, bringing that left knee down and calming up. Big circle of breath, inhale up the front, exhale, pouring down the back. And then interlock the fingers, hands behind the head, pulling those elbows wide. And we will twist to the right. And then as we deepen into the twist, just bring the left hand to the floor, right arm up, and you can kind of sink in there indulgently. Keep breathing. And then a big reach around with the right arm. Straightening up that left leg. Stepping back, vinyasa or not, downward facing dog. And then we will do that on the left side. Lifting the left leg up. And dog at the high fire height. And here we go, circling. Maybe a little extra slow on the first one. Feeling that resistance of the right hip hinging back as your left knee comes forward. And then out to the parallel side, all the way up and over. And then 2 or 3 or maybe 4, I don't know, times. And we will finish with that through to the lunge, coming up in the warrior number 2 on the left. So we arrive, and then we arrive a little more deeply. Left inner thigh forward, left outer thigh back. I'm really feeling that left sitting bone weighted toward the floor as we side bend away, dancing warrior. And then into the side angle, Parsva Konasana, elbow on the knee or maybe coming lower, arm over the ear or not. And then inhale and exhale, try not to straighten that left knee a little as you come back to the dancing warrior. Inhale and exhale, Parsva Konasana. Approximately 3 more times, 3 more sets. Keeping that breath going. Inhale and exhaling your way over. And inhale and exhaling your way back up. And then we'll go once more into that dancing warrior. And this time to Trikonasana, the triangle, hinging over. And as that physical body becomes a little more still, a little more quiet, maybe we can feel that subtle body inside a little bit more. And then reaching that right arm over the ear, long and flat triangle, pressing up into that right side. And a big reach around with that right arm coming down. And bringing the right knee down to come up in Janus-Asana, the kneeling lunge. And let's interlock the fingers, wide elbows, hands behind the head. And then twisting to the left. Pulling those elbows wide. And as we release the arms, bringing that right hand to the floor, sinking a little more indulgently into that twist. And a big reach around and straightening up that right leg. Stepping back to the plank. And this time we're going to lower ourselves all the way to the floor. So you can Asana Namaskar again, that will be our default. Or you can lower in Chaturanga or any other means. And then coming into the Sphinx, bringing those elbows and forearms forward, reaching out through the fingertips. And pulling back, lengthening out the front of the body. Feeling the wide upper chest, wide upper back. And then probably nothing will move much, but think about lifting the legs. Reach a little longer, press that tailbone down into the floor a little more, as if you could lift the legs off the floor. Especially if you're very lifted in the Sphinx with your elbows right under the shoulders, probably they won't actually lift. And then let's let the knees bend. Keep that lifting action, though, which should make it very challenging to bend the knees. And heels and upper back squeeze toward each other. And then lengthen those legs out. Maybe the upper body lifts a little more. Coming down. Forehead resting on the hands. And then let's peel ourselves up. Couple cat and cow ripples. Little pull back into child's pose. And then let us come forward into the forearm plank. You could always do the regular plank if you would really rather. We'll be going to side planks. All right, so here on the forearm plank. Finding that lots of work in the core. And then let's come up and over onto the right arm, bringing that left arm up. And bend the left elbow, hand behind the head, reaching wide elbow to elbow. You want to do some fancy core stuff, rounding down and rounding up again, go ahead, or just trying to hold here. And then bringing that left elbow down, maybe just holding the plank or regrouping by putting your knees down. And we'll do the same thing on the left. Up and over onto the left, right arm up. And then bending that right elbow. Feel like you're doing that wide pull elbow to elbow. Maybe doing some little rounding and opening fancy core thing if you want. And back to the center. See if you can hold that plank for a few breaths, like you want to repeat that on the right and left, which of course you could do. Maybe you do want to. And then we'll make our way back to child's pose. All right, so really extend the arms out as you're coming back. And then we're going to let those elbows bend, palms of the hands together, and bring the thumbs down to the back of the head. And releasing the arms. And we will make our way up into downward facing dog. And if you would like going through a vinyasa here or not. And then here we are in downward facing dog. And let's lift that right leg up, reaching long through the heel. Dog at the high fire hydrant, maybe waterfall into the wild thing. So as you waterfall to that wild thing, feel like you're drawing that left shoulder blade in and under and pivoting yourself around on the shoulder, not just the rest of the body tipping over. And then we'll be making our way to the warrior one. Coming back, if you can, lifting the right leg again, through to the lunge, and warrior number one. Bring that weight down into the floor, through the feet, through the sitting bones, and then lengthening front and back with the inner thighs. And then drawing up those two sides, up through the center line, up and over. Every breath reiterates those actions. And then coming down, stepping back, vinyasa or not, downward facing dog. And same thing with the left leg. Lifting that left leg up. Bending the knee dog at the high fire hydrant, maybe waterfall into the wild thing. Really pulling that right shoulder blade into the center of the upper back and over as you come over. And then making our way back, maybe lifting the left leg, and we'll all be in the warrior number one. And weight down into the floor, reaching down through the feet, reaching down through the sitting bones. And then pulling front to back, inner thigh forward on the left, inner thigh back on the right. And then lengthening up the sides, lengthening up the center line. And breathing. And calming down. Stepping back to the plank, vinyasa or not, downward facing dog. Taking 3 deep breaths in downward facing dog. Coming down, sitting back in child's pose. And then let's do the dolphin pose. That's sort of downward facing dog on the forearms. So one option is those parallel forearms. And then there's namaste hands pressing against each other. And then there's interlocked fingers. So the interlocked fingers is the most stabilizing version. And you want to really press down along that outer wrist, along the outer edge of the hand, and our bottom little finger, you see this, tucks inside there so that we're not crushing it with the fist there. All right, so choosing your position, I'm going for interlocked fingers for the undecided. And elbows are shoulder distance apart. And then as you come up in that downward facing dog, the feet are probably not quite as far back as your usual dog, a step or so closer to those elbows. And then pressing into the forearms and pressing back. And then let's take the slide forward. We're not trying to go to a plank, we're trying to pull the upper chest forward and up. So my shoulders come over the elbows and my face is kind of over the fists there. And those hips are still hinged up in the air. And then pressing back, sliding back up to the dolphin. And maybe doing that with our right leg lifted, reaching up through the right heel. So you can always come down and take a little break in between here, catch up. Feeling that press and reach back, and then sliding and diving forward and up. And sliding up and back. And if you're doing that, we'll bring the right leg down, and then we'll all come down for a little regroup and maybe try that with the left leg or just on both arms again. Or both. So working kind of on your own for what you need to do or can or want to do at this moment. All right, so following along with me, people, here we go. And we're coming back up to our dolphin. Slightly shorten that stance from downward facing dog. Really press those upper arms into the floor, pressing back. And then let's take a slide forward and up before we try lifting the left leg here. And sliding back. And then as you're ready, lifting the left leg. And diving forward and up. So we're halfway into a forearm stand here with that left leg up. And then sliding back. Bringing that left leg down. See if you can be here for another breath or two. And then we'll all end up in child's pose in the next few moments. And then come up a little from your child's pose. Walk your hands further forward. And start pulling back again. And let the elbows touch. And then bend the elbows, bringing the hands, palms of the hands together. As we keep hinging back, bending the arms, thumbs to the back of the head or neck. So if you don't quite sit into child's pose like I'm not, I'm suspended a little on my heels, but it's doing a nice pull along my upper arm. So that's what you're looking for, that pull along the upper arm. And then we'll straighten out the arms, settling back. Coming up, peeling yourself, rolling yourself up. And let us get our block. And we will come down to the floor. And supported bridge pose, block under the sacrum. So maybe this being later in the class, instead of right at the beginning, we're going to use a higher height of the block, or maybe because it's later in the class, you're going to use a lower height. That's another possibility. All right. And then along with that nice lift and open of the pelvis, take a few moments really feeling that supported flex of the neck there. So in that dolphin pose, we're doing a lot of neck extension. So here really feeling that long back of the neck there, the chin and upper chest gently drawing toward each other. So you don't want to mush the chin to the chest. You don't want to mush the back of the neck against the floor. Feeling that nice fold forward that lengthens the back of the neck. Smoothing out that breath, a little cooperating with the block. And then let's bend the knees, lifting up off that block, taking the block out. Rolling down vertebrae by vertebrae, landing there on the floor. And then taking your block back again, putting that block between the knees or the thighs, sort of looking for what distance and whether knees or thighs gives you a better sort of hip distance of those legs there. To do the bridge pose while squeezing that block. All right, so getting situated, arms alongside, feet into the floor. Give that block a little squeeze as you tuck that tailbone up, peeling up off the floor, maybe interlocking the fingers underneath. And you can bend the elbows a little or a lot. And holding and breathing here. And then rolling down. And we will come up once again. So you could do another bridge pose, or maybe Urdhva Dhanurasana, the big back bend of the wheel, either one. So if you're doing the wheel here, I like to take a stretch of my arms up overhead and do a little press down with the backs of my hands into the floor for a moment, feeling the shoulder blades up in the upper back, because this is a lot like what your shoulders need to do in that back bend there. And then as you're ready, lifting up, or maybe you're already there. And wherever we are, breathing, squeezing the block. Feeling that stretch of the front body, that contract of the back body. And then we will make our way down. Landing on the floor. Let yourself just land on the floor before you start moving. Inhale and exhale. Things melt into the floor. All right, and then whatever little thing you want to do, squinching around, knees into the chest. So then we'll do a few sideways leg lifts, or you can just drop your knees to the floor and turn it into 100% easeful stretch instead. All right, so let's bring those legs up at kind of a right angle-ish. Or if you like, you can do this with those legs straight. And bringing the arms out wide to the side, backs of the hands on the floor. And let's lower our legs toward the left so we make what is a twist to the right through the spine and shoulders. Up and over to the left. Taking 3 deep breaths here. Coming back to the center, really anchor that core to the floor, up and over to the right. 3 deep breaths here. Back to the center. To the left, holding 2 breaths. As you come through the center, let that center be a position. Feel that for a moment. Over to the right for 2 breaths. And then we will go to 1 breath each side for 3 sets. Of course, you can adapt the pattern for yourself. And then we will finish with this, everyone back in the center. If you have the legs bent, maybe just giving them a little stretch up to the ceiling for a moment. And then rolling up to sitting, expanding those legs out into Konasana, the angled pose. Giving a little lift from behind, tilting forward. Breathing, seeing what do you need to let go of to come a little more forward? What do you need to maybe send a little more strength into, a little bit more reach? And then continue breathing, easing yourself over any amount. And then we will make our way back up to sitting, unfurling that spine, landing up there on top of the sitting bones. Deep breath. And let's reach up through the right arm, bending that right elbow, reaching the right hand for the upper back or maybe the right shoulder blade, 2 long parallel sides. And then a little pull to the left. And a little resistance, pressing that right elbow into the left hand. And coming up, letting that go. Other side. Left arm coming up, bending the elbow, getting hold of that. Left hand in the center back, or maybe it can reach all the way to that left shoulder blade. And then up and over to the right. And pressing that left elbow into the right hand. So you have a little resistance there, deepening the stretch. And coming up. Reassembling those legs. And let's make our way down to the floor. Into Shavasana. Letting go of all efforts. Inhale and exhale, sinking into the floor. And if you have more time, staying here a little longer. It's time to move on into the day. Let's start moving the fingers and toes, maybe circling the wrists and ankles. Stretching the arms up overhead. Bending the knees. Making your way gently up to sitting. And sitting in any comfortable position with that long and spacious spine. Taking a few more moments, sitting quietly inside yourself. Namaste. Thank you for coming. And